The sun is just peeking over the horizon, driving off the nighttime chill and starting another day of slowly but surely melting the last of the snow still clinging to the nearby mountaintops. But you and your coworkers don't see the sun. Instead, as it goes up, you come down, 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 a narrow elevator to a sparsely lit tunnel hundreds of miles under the ground, where you will spend the day doing grueling, back-breaking work, blasting, hammering, and shoveling rocks in an attempt to free the precious veins of raw materials inside the tunnel. It's work you've done for years, dangerous but familiar. Your father was a miner, and his father before him. So you know the stories. You know not to glance over when you think you see someone who's way too short to be a fellow adult. You don't respond when you hear a strange voice calling your name, and you know to flee when you hear it. The knock, knock, knock. That means a cave-in. Let's talk about Tommyknockers.
So I went on a mine tour at the Phoenix Gold Mine in Idaho Springs, Colorado to do research for this video, and I did not see any Tommyknockers, which is probably good because I was already pretty freaked out being in a mine. But I saw other stuff, like old mining equipment. This truck has clearly been here since the 1800s, and I saw like glowing sodium chloride and places where actual cave-ins happened. So enjoy the extra footage.
Let's start with establishing what a Tommyknocker is, and that's not easy because unlike monoliths like Connie or Nessie, there are a lot of Tommyknockers. They span continents and centuries, filling thousands of mines, and these little creatures are not elusive. Miners, even today, report having encounters with them, and with so many people with so many personal stories, it makes it hard to pinpoint any hard facts on them. We know that they were brought over to America in the 1800s from Europe by Cornish immigrants. They were first introduced to Pennsylvania, but when the California Gold Rush started and the need to travel west and recruit as many fellow miners as possible grew, Tommyknockers spread. Some people say Tommyknockers are the ghosts of other miners who died and are now working to assist their friends and coworkers. Others say Tommyknockers are the cousins to creatures like gnomes, dwarves, brownies, and leprechauns. I even found a story saying Tommyknockers are the ghosts of Jewish slaves who were forced to work in the mines, but I couldn't find any hard evidence to help back up that story. It seems that the only constant for Tommyknockers is that they're small, usually topping out at about 2 feet, and they like to wear miners' outfits. Even their intentions and behavior vary wildly.
You're crazy!
Regardless of what they are, we know Tommyknockers like to taunt miners. They range from playful and helpful to malicious. They've been known to steal lunches, blow out lights, and move tools. But this is their playful side, little guys playing pranks. On the other end of the spectrum, it's said if you look at a Tommyknocker, you would die. And then there's the knocking that gave them their name. Some people say they knock as a warning to miners of potential cave-ins or other disasters that could kill them, but other stories say they knock to lead people to rich veins and good luck, and other stories say they knock to try and lure miners to their doom. And the thing is, all of these tales might be true. In the same way people in Europe are very different from people in Pennsylvania and California, I imagine the Tommyknockers in different mines are different from each other. And this can make it hard for miners to deal with their fellow mine dwellers. They're not supposed to laugh at or ignore Tommyknockers, but they're also not supposed to look at them. And they do try to appease them, usually leaving a few bites of their lunch behind to at least placate the Tommyknockers if they're not on their good side.
Don't try to get on my good side, Trudy.
But is that even really necessary? Mines are strange places. They relay sound in a weird way, and the earth is bound to make strange sounds when you're deep underground. So could they exist, or could it all be chalked up to what naturally happens when someone spends long periods of time in a small, stale, poorly lit place human beings were never supposed to inhabit? Mining is a dangerous job, and I imagine they're superstitious for a similar reason sailors are. Both jobs mean putting your life on the line, and the thing that could get you home safely more often than is comfortable is pure chance. So isn't it nice to imagine it's something a little more tangible than dumb luck? And I don't know. Maybe both are true. Maybe there are things deep underground we're not familiar with, and maybe miners are just superstitious people. And I say I don't know as someone who grew up in a small mountain community in Colorado. A lot of hiking trails were first established as paths to mines, and it's not hard to find closed off, or thanks to time and decay, no longer closed off, mine tailings. What I do know is that I am scared of mines. One of the most profound nightmares I had as a small child took place in a mine. And for all the dangerous mining artifacts that litter the mountains, you don't hear very often of kids who get hurt or die in those areas because they know better than to mess with them. For a good reason. It's not a superstitious one. So what about today? Because any miner will tell you that Tommyknockers are still around and knocking. But what does this mean for their legacy? Well, I can't speak for Europe or even other states, but in Colorado, Tommyknockers have a big legacy. There is a bar named after them, several celebrations both in Central City and in Telluride, who kick off their 4th of July with a bang, probably at 6 a.m. every year, by literally setting off fireworks to honor the Tommyknockers who would set off explosives in the mines. And they've also prevailed as horror movie monsters. Most famously is a Stephen King story. I've never read Tommyknockers by Stephen King, mostly because I don't think I can reconcile this with the Tommyknockers of my childhood. But they're also far more localized horror stories, scaring me and plenty of other little kids into staying out of the mines for generations now. And even as the mining industry becomes safer and more industrialized, Tommyknocker sightings and stories haven't diminished. So I'm sure they'll be knocking around for a long time to come.
Knock, 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 knock.
Hey, so I wrote a book and I put it up online. It's a high fantasy story with evil kings and arranged marriages and an Avatar-inspired magic system. And if you find that interesting, you should go to Wattpad or Scribble Hub where I post a new chapter every Sunday.